Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for the 22nd Annual School District of Palm Beach County Technology Conference. Yes, hard to believe it's been 22 years we've been doing this conference in the district. My name is John Shoemaker. I am a specialist in the Department of Educational Technology, and I'm going to be your host for this session. And before we get started, I want to go through just a couple of housekeeping tips. For those of you who may be new to any of our live streams that we've been doing for the past year and a half. The first thing and most important thing is that you can use the chat over there on the right to communicate with everyone. So I've seen a lot of amazing things in the chat already from people. We've seen some people from the Philippines in there, and especially all over our own district. So thank you for that. If this is your first time, you do have to click in there and click create a channel before you can chat. So just do that, refresh the page, and then you'll be in and able to chat with everyone. Also, while you're here, down below, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, like this video, and subscribe to our channel. You can also click the bell to get notified of anytime we actually go live or post a video. We host multiple events throughout the school year, so never miss any of our videos if you click the bell. And you may have seen a couple of people with some wrenches in the chat, and you'll see that throughout the day. Those are our moderators. They're people from the ed tech team or from other departments that are helping out for that chat or that session. And last but not least, for the housekeeping, up in that top right corner, don't forget today's hashtag. It's hashtag PBC TechConf. We want to see and hear what you're learning. So, snap some pictures. We love doing workshop selfies where you take your camera, take a picture of where you're learning from, and then tweet it out and post and tag us at hashtag PBC TechConf. We would love to see where you're learning from and also want to know what you're learning today because we have so many sessions going on. And so with that, I am actually going to now introduce my director, Mr. David Atwell. He is the Director of Educational Technology, and I will let him take it away.
Thanks, John, and a big thank you to John and the rest of the ed tech team and all of our vendors and friends across the district who've come together to plan and support this year's virtual technology conference. It's really been a labor of love, and we hope that you enjoy yourselves and are able to take something back into the classrooms to impact students. So I have the privilege of introducing Mr. Burke, our new superintendent. Though he's new to this role, he's no stranger to us all, having served the district since 1998 as budget director, chief financial officer, and chief operation officers, and even both for a period of time. Some of you may not actually know this, though, that Mr. Burke, as the chief financial officer, actually has been responsible for the information technology divisions and has always had an eye for the future and been a strong supporter of the integration of technology into the classroom. I appreciate him taking the time to share with us this morning and hand the presentation over to him at this point.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Atwell, and welcome everybody to the 22nd Annual Technology Conference. This conference is always terrific, and it's one of our district's signature marquee events. And with all its pageantry and legion of loyal fans and supporters, and some of those supporters coming from around the globe, which is really cool. It's also Boss's Day, so this is a nice gift for all of us out there. And I'd just like for us all to consider a minute, when you think about the organizers, the presenters, the attendees, and our sponsors, we have assembled an impressive collection of brain power and brilliant minds. And I'm proud that this group harnesses that collective brain power for the noble cause of public education. I'm sure some of you saw that William Shatner was in space this week. And that's cool. He finally got to get to the final frontier. But I'm proud that this group is using, well, hey, let me say it like this. That's cool. I'm glad Shatner got to space. I have no doubt that this group, if you put your minds to it, could probably launch me into space. You might think twice about bringing me back down to Earth, but you could do it. And, hopefully someone's laughing out there. But quite frankly, that would be a waste of your talents, right? What you are doing here today is more important to the people of Earth. You are working to help kids have a better education and better future. Our theme this year is Fast Forward, a Decade of Change in 1 year or in a year. And that's certainly a fitting description. we've all gone through a tremendous amount of change the past 19 months. The pivot we made to distance learning was incredible. We had to scramble like everyone else, but we had the tools and the infrastructure in place, and a lot of people already well-versed and trained, in Google Classroom, et cetera, thanks to the work of education technology and our IT division and these conferences. We've had a lot of great programs that put us in a good position. Over the years, this conference has launched several key initiatives. We've had our technology trailblazers. We've got our Google certified educators. We have more certified educators by Google than any school district in the world, which is pretty incredible. And now our district has been accepted into the Google for Education Reference District Program. And that's very prestigious. So not too shabby, Team Palm Beach. And thanks to our voter support and our IT division, everyone working hard and together, we reached right in time for the pandemic. We had to buy about 80,000 more computers or Chromebooks. We got that done. And for last school year, to start last school year, we reached our 1-to-1 device ratio, and we finished our rollout of interactive smart panels to all our classrooms. So we are in really the best position possible, thanks to your efforts. And what I really like to see is not that we just bought all this technology, but that when I'm out in the schools, I see it being used each day. We saw a teacher, how they're using their smart panel to teach kids to read through phonics. And it was a really impressive display. And it's just become another tool that the teachers are very well versed and comfortable with using. So that's what makes it all worthwhile. Our teachers are clearly innovators. I appreciate you all here today taking some time to further hone your skills. It's obvious you're committed to your craft. And for that, we thank you. I know this will be a great conference. We hope next year to be back in person. That'll be nice, but we're going to make the best of this online experience. And again, just thank you all for being here. And I'm going to turn it back to Mr. John Shoemaker. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. We appreciate your message. Have an amazing day. We appreciate it. And as we continue, I just want to go really quickly over today's agenda. For those of you who have not been at most of our conferences, we don't normally have 4 sessions throughout the day. So we're continuing with that format. And each session is about 45 minutes long with about 15 minutes in between. We also have that time during lunchtime to network and visit the exhibit hall. You can visit the exhibit hall at any time throughout the day. And after our keynote speaks today, we will do just a quick overview of the platform as well, so you can feel comfortable with that. And before I turn it back over to Mr. Atwell, Dr. Atwell, we have a quick message from eGlass, who is sponsoring our opening session. So I'm just going to play a quick ad from eGlass.
eGlass is an illuminated glass writing board with a built-in camera, and it's fantastic for distance learning. But did you know it's incredibly effective for hybrid and in-class teaching as well? When teachers try eGlass for the first time, the increase in student engagement is almost overwhelming. To learn more about eGlass and embodied learning, visit eglass.io.
So some pretty cool technology there. Don't forget to check them out in the vendor hall. You can chat with them and learn more about that system there. So thank you again, eGlass, for sponsoring that. Also want to mention, we do have prizes to give away throughout the day. They will be randomly dispersed through the session, so you may or may not have a prize in the session you're in. And as always, we're going to be giving away the biggest prizes in this session and in our closing session. So you have to be present to win. So with that, I'm going to bring back Dr. Atwell to talk about some of the things that the conference sponsors through the vendors and through our sponsorships. Dr. Atwell, take it away.
Thanks, John. We have 2 great programs that coincide with the Tech Conference every year. And the first one is the Mickey Schumer Student Design Competition. So Mickey Schumer was a design teacher, a great graphic design teacher at South Tech Academy. He inspired his students to obtain new levels of creativity, which is evident in the fact that his students have repeatedly won the previous competitions. This contest recognizes students in the area of graphic design by showcasing their work on the cover of our program and in media surrounding our conference. The top 3 designs based on the steering committee's vote received a prize. So for this year, our 3rd place winner was Luke Erickson from Seminole Ridge Community High School. Luke will receive a $100 check and a 1-year subscription to the Adobe Creative suite of tools. Our second place winner was Elaine Aguilar from Alexander Dreyfus School of the Arts. Elaine will receive $250 check and the Adobe subscription as well. And then finally, by now you should all know who the winner was based on all the marketing materials, the website, and even this presentation, but let's put a face to the design. The winner of the 2021 Mickey Shimmer Student Design Competition was Josiah R. Manners, also from Alexander Dreyfus School of the Arts. Josiah will receive a check for $500 and the Adobe subscription for a year as well. Also, all 3 of the students' teachers will also be eligible to receive a 1-year subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of tools for personal use. The second program that we do each year is the Pat Oliphant Memorial Student Technology Service Scholarship. So Pat Oliphant was a vibrant, enthusiastic teacher who devoted over 30 years to the field of education. During her career, she taught math and computer science at John I. Leonard Community High School. Computer science became the main focus during her latter years. Proceeds from the exhibit hall during this conference go to the scholarship and recognize students who demonstrate exemplary service in the area of educational technology. As such, I just wanted to take a brief second to thank all of the exhibitors today who helped prepare today's young people for tomorrow's tech jobs. And this competition truly is a really wonderful time. We bring in each of the students and we have a full formal interview with them, and it is just such an uplifting and encouraging time hearing the great things that these students are doing in their classes and in their schools. So our finalist recognition for the Pat Oliphant Memorial Technology Service Scholarship will receiving $500 scholarship is Alex Gaynor from Spanish River High School. And the third place receiving $1,500 scholarship is Brianna Peters from Park Vista High School. Our second place winner for the 2021 Pat Oliphant Scholarship, receiving $2,500 scholarship, was Cameron Brown from Boca Raton High School. And our first place winner receiving $3,500 scholarship was Davidra Ramroot from Seminole Ridge High School. Congratulations to all of our winners. Applications for the FY22 Pat Oliphant Memorial Technology Scholarship are due Friday, January 14th at 4 p.m. A bulletin went out this week covering this information. It is open to any high school senior in a public school in the school district of Palm Beach County. For more information, please check out the bulletin from this week, and it'll also go out in a principal update next week. Nomination packets are part of Form 1977. Make sure and submit your students. It's a great opportunity for them, and it goes a long way. Finally, I get the privilege of introducing to you Tom Murray. Tom serves as the Director of Innovation for Future Ready Schools located in Washington, D.C. He has testified before the United States Congress and has worked alongside that body in the U.S. Senate, the White House, the U.S. Department of Education, and state departments of education, corporations, and school districts throughout the country to implement student-centered, personalized learning. Mr. Murray serves as a regular conference keynote, which is how several members of the EdTech team first met Tom at FETC before the pandemic. I remember sitting at FETC and hearing Tom speak for the first time and got in a conversation with the EdTech team members that were there. It's just about, man, this guy would be great to bring back to Palm Beach County and have him share with our teachers. So we brought that to fruition now, so it's an exciting time. If you would like to check out some more of his work, he is a best-selling author of books like Learning Transformed, 8 Keys to Designing Tomorrow's Schools Today, and Personal and Authentic, Designing Learning Experiences that Impact a Lifetime. You can also find him at thomascmurray.com. Take it away, Tom.
Awesome. Well, what an honor it is to be with you all. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be with you all as I come at you from Pennsylvania today. And so listen, I'd love to just share my contact information. If you're on social media, would love to connect on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, any of those tools, because any of these pieces, we are in this work together. That's the mindset that we have. And listen, what an honor it is to be with you. So I will never start anything I do. I don't care if it's in person or it's virtual like today. I will never, ever start anything I do in front of amazing educators like you who pour your lives into other people's kids, especially in the midst of chaos and adversity and fear and chaos all around us. I will never start anything sitting in front of amazing educators like you without first starting with thanks. My friends, thank you for your work. Thank you for loving and caring about kids. Thank you for the late nights, for the early mornings, for the days where you just go and you go and you go and you give until you've got nothing left. Thank you for the what you do in the lives of our kids, especially in the chaos of a pandemic. And my friends, listen, over the next 50 minutes or so, I promise you, I'm going to keep it real. I was talking to Sarah the other day. She's a teacher in California. She's a fifth year veteran. She's 30 years old. And my friends, like, just look at her. She's exhausted from this work. How many of y'all are feeling like that on Friday? It felt like a 10-day week this week. Like, did it not? Right? Yeah, I saw that on social media. Here's another one I saw on social media. Maybe you guys can relate. So did you see this one? AJC puts out, schools can open safely if students wear masks and socially distance. You know what I love about social media? Educators like you get a hold of it and you're like, y'all ever met children? You have any idea what this work is really like, teaching every day in the chaos of our world? How about this one? You see this one, by the way? Does this not define your world as educators all across the world, not just in Florida, all across the world? I don't know. You see this one? Checking your email to see what changed from like 4 minutes ago, right? Has that not been our world? How about this? My admin friends that are watching, have you guys seen the new school administrator Barbie for this year? Not looking so good. Not looking so good. My friends, we have to take that deep breath. We have to be able to come together on amazing days like today to build each other and to connect, because I recognize the work you're doing every single day is ridiculously hard. And people on the outside of our walls that go after what we do wouldn't literally last like 4 minutes doing what you do each and every day. So let's come together on days like this to have fun, to encourage each other, to build each other up, to be real practical, to support each other in the work. Do me a favor if you would. I want you to pull your cell phone out. For those of you that were texting the whole time, that was actually really easy, wasn't it? Just kidding. I want you to pull your cell phone out. I'm going to give you 30 seconds of this keynote back to you. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. We've got over 1,200 people registered. I want you to take all 1,200 of us. I want you to take the next 30 seconds, scroll through your contacts. I want you to open up and scroll through your contacts, find somebody you love and care about that you haven't connected with in a long time. And I'm giving you 30 seconds back to totally out of the blue make their day. You've got 30 seconds to connect with somebody you haven't connected with in a long time, to build them up, to send them a message of encouragement completely out of the blue. Please do it, because we're coming back to it in 50 minutes. You have 30 seconds. Go. Another 15 seconds. Doing it with you. All right, I'll give you a few more moments as you're doing that. If I'm going to talk about staying personal and authentic and creating these personal and authentic cultures of innovation, let me be as real as I can be and as personal and authentic as I can be. See that little girl right there? That's my Paisley Addison. She's sitting in a public school here in Pennsylvania, just started middle school, part of my whole world. You see this guy right here? You see, that's the picture that my wife and I put on social media last year. He's now in 2nd grade. Like, look how cute. This was last year. 1st grade. Look how cute. My friends, I told you I was going to keep it real. You have any idea what remote learning was like with that guy at home? Like, I can do this. No stress. I got it. Let's have some fun. You give me that guy on Zoom for an hour. Like, I'm dying as that. Just kidding. Part of my whole world, part of why I do what I do. Thought you hopefully can maybe relate to that as well. I want to dive into, yes, my last bestseller is Personal and Authentic, and I'm not here to try and sell you the book. I want to pull some core tenets that I think are very relevant for your world in the chaos in which we live on staying personal and authentic and creating these cultures of innovation. You have so many incredible sessions that you can go through today. And how do we create a culture of innovation where our students and we as staff members can thrive? And it's, I really want to dive into how cultures of innovation, my friends, start with us. You see, let me process this with you for a moment. What is it that you intentionally do to build the culture of your school or of your classroom? Now, what I didn't ask is what your principal does, or what I didn't ask is what your superintendent does, or I didn't ask what your board does. Ask what you do. Because it's real easy in our world, isn't it, to point the finger? I'm talking about me. I'm not even talking about you. It's real easy in my world to do this. Well, like if my principal would actually, if our superintendent would finally, if my governor would actually, right? Like that's easy. It doesn't actually take any courage. You know what's hard for me? Pointing my finger this way when I'm looking in the mirror, like with the person I'm shaving with in the morning. And by the way, I'm not talking about my wife. I'm talking about myself. Looking in the mirror and saying like, well, what about me? How do I impact that? Now, I don't ask that with a deficit mindset. I don't ask that assuming you're not. Please know that. I know you as educators are some of the most dynamic, incredible, empathetic culture builders that are creative and incredible people on the planet. So I don't ask these questions with a deficit mindset at all. But I want us to process, what is it we intentionally do to create a culture where people want to be? Because we can talk about the tools. We can talk about all the incredible things that'll happen today that you'll see. But without a culture of risk-taking, a culture of fail forward, a culture where people can thrive, the tools aren't going to really matter, are they? You see, every interaction that we have, I really believe is either a culture builder or a culture killer. I really believe there's very few totally neutral interactions because the small moments really do matter, do they not? One of my best friends in the world is Superintendent of the Year, Joe Sanfilippo, a superintendent in Wisconsin. And a couple of years ago, Joe and I were at a conference together. We do a lot of work together. And he made this statement that you see on the screen. He said, Tom, I think culture in a school is built 30 seconds at a time. I will vulnerably tell you, when he said it, I laughed. I was like, come on, dude, 30 seconds? Joe, that sounds great on a tweet. 30 seconds at a time? Joe, you remember we were both district level employees, like 30 seconds at a time? Joe, you remember we were both principals, 30 seconds? Joe, you remember we were both teachers, like 30 seconds at a time? Come on, man. And like a best friend would, he pushed back. He's like, Tom, how many of your interactions in a given day are 30 seconds or less? And I started to process. Being that teacher, standing in that hallway, students entering, just quick conversation. Student walk by, quick high five. I'm now teaching, have a quick conversation with a student at their desk. I call somebody up, quick conversation. I call down to the office, quick conversation. That period ends. I head down to the office. I grab my mail, quick conversation. I walk over to the secretary, quick conversation. I head to the faculty room, quick conversation, another interaction, quick conversation, walking back. Start to process. You know what? He's right. It's these quick moments, these moments of interactions that really do matter. Because I really believe every time we bring people together, it's an opportunity to build the culture where we work. So if I'm a teacher here, it means every opportunity of every class period, every day, how we kick that off, how we start off that day is an opportunity. For our principals, every time you kick off a faculty meeting, it's an opportunity to model the type of culture we want our teachers to build in the classroom. For our district level, events like this, in-service days, are the types of opportunities where we create our cultures in our schools and to model that for our teaching staff, is it not? Because every time we bring people together, it's an opportunity. I really believe right now our school's culture, and listen, I may have been in a few of your schools, but right now our school's culture, every school across America, perfectly aligns with the mindset and the actions of we adults in the building. And let's face it, let's be real. It's hard. It is really hard right now. Let's call it like it is, with the fear and the anxiety and all these things on the outside of our walls permeating the inside of our walls. That is so real. But our mindset and our actions is ultimately what matters, is it not? Let me put it to you this way. And I noticed the credit here. I'm not sure exactly who to credit. It's something I twist from online that I saw. It's not my original thought, but I've altered it a little bit. I want you to process for a moment. If every one of our students on Monday walked into your classroom or principals or superintendent, your building or your district, with the attitude and mindset and effort that you have today, what kind of learning environment would it be? Now, let me answer that question, because I know that you're some of the most dedicated, incredible, passionate people on the planet. It would be amazing, wouldn't it? Because you work so hard, you give so much. And if our students were doing that same, it would be an incredible place to be. But again, it's so easy to point that finger, isn't it? It's so easy for on Monday to expect that from our students. But what about us? What about me? When you walk into that faculty room, you build the energy up, or do you suck the air right out of the room? Don't look at your colleague. Now's not a good time. But you know what I'm talking about, my friends, right? Mindset. Our actions. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do in the chat. I want you to think about the people in which you lead. Now, if your first mindset's like, wait a minute, I don't lead, I'm a teacher. I don't lead. No, you lead students every single day. Put some things in the chat if you would. What are those things you expect from the people that you lead. It is not a loaded question. Throw some things in the chat if you would. Just be totally real. What do you expect? If I'm a new student of yours and I come to you and say, hey, I'm new to your class, we're starting off quarter 2, what do you expect of me? What are some of the things you might say? I'll give you a moment to do that. If you're a principal, district level, what do you expect of your teachers? What do you expect of your students? Give you a moment to do that. Throw some things in the chat if you would. We see things like transparency. I see respect as they continue to go through. Continue to work through that. Put some things there. Be trust, be respectful. Be treated with respect. So let me be real with you, my friends. Keep those coming in the chat. Thank you for that. Here's the thing. Can I be totally honest? I don't care what we respect or expect. Let me say it again. I actually don't care what you expect. You know why? I care what you model. I don't take that the wrong way. I don't mean that in any sort of negative way. I care what you model. Can I tell you about a time that I really screwed this up? You see, pre-COVID, I was flying in 2019. I flew about 156 times or something like that. You do the math, pretty much every other day. And this one particular week, I was home this one given day, and I was working with the U.S. Senate Help Committee. And listen, I'm not there to be red. I'm not there to be blue. I'm there to support the work that we do as educators, truly mean that. And I was home this one particular day, and I'm waiting for this email from the U.S. Senate Help Committee. And in my world, that's pretty important stuff. And I get home, and I say hi to Paisley, and I say hi to Caden, and my wife's over there cooking, say hi to my wife, getting caught up, and I'm waiting for this email, talking to my kids. My wife's like, all right, guys, dinner time. My little Caden was 6 at the time. He starts walking over to the dinner table. He's doing this with his iPad, walking over the dinner table. I'm like, Caden, buddy, go put your iPad away, honey. Come on, go put your iPad away. It's dinner time. He starts huffing and puffing. He puts it away. He comes back. We sit down. We say grace. We're having some conversation. It's about 5:45, about 10 minutes into dinner. It hits me. I don't think, wait, did I get that email yet? I did one of these. Just being real. Told you I'd be real. I kind of pull this out, look around, pull this out of my pocket. You want to, oh, there it is. At senate.gov.us. Perfect. My wife kicks me so ridiculously hard under the dinner table. I look up. She's like, true story. I look at my 6-year-old. He's like how hypocritical of this guy right here to tell my son no devices at the dinner table, and literally 10 minutes later, I'm staring at my phone. You see, what is it that we expect of other people? And if it's an expectation that we have, and I agree with every expectation I saw in the chat, I totally agree with every one of them. But how do we model it? If I'm telling teachers, if I'm telling students, you got to own your own learning. This is your responsibility. You have to own your own learning. And then I walk into a professional learning day, like, I got nothing to learn. I don't need to be here, right? Like, how do we say one and then model the other? But you know what I know about you? I know you're some of the best at modeling these types of things because it's who you are, the amazing mindset, the amazing person that you are and doing the work. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about this stuff, modeling our expectations, my friends, builds trust, doesn't it? I get to coach superintendents, coach principals all across the country. And one of the conversations I always have in the summer as they turn over and they go to a new spot, Tom, I'm going to a new building. Tom, I'm going to do a district. If you were me, where would you start? And I'll always follow that question up with, how do we start to build trust? And it's really the same conversation if I'm teaching in the classroom with my students. How do I continue to build trust? And I know we're a few months in here. How do we continue to build trust? If we're talking about culture's innovation, trust is really that foundation. Because if our students trust you as their teacher, if that relationship is formed, they're willing to take most often that extra step or try something new or step out of their own comfort zone, aren't they? And isn't trust really the foundation of relationships? I mean, don't answer this, but you ever been in a relationship, can't trust the other person? How'd it work out? It didn't, unless trust was restored, right? And aren't relationships really the foundation of our culture? So at the end of the day, as we talk about creating cultures of innovation, it really starts with us and how we model the outcomes that we're expecting from other people. It's so easy to do this. It's a lot harder for Tom Murray to do this, but how do we examine ourselves first to create those cultures of innovation? You see, mindset matters, my friends, doesn't it? It's really the key to so much of what we do. Here's what I want you to do in the chat. I want you to look at the data on the screen. I want you to process it. I want you to be totally real here. Let's pretend you're getting a student. Principal comes to you. If you're a teacher, you're getting a student tomorrow. And the principal says, hey, this student's moving in from out of state. For whatever reason, we only have the information that you see here. Now, I will tell you, this is pre-COVID. Obviously, COVID is front and center of our radars. The student that you're getting is in the last 14 months, they've been absent for 35 days. They've been tardy 20 times. What judgments might people start to make? Please put some things in the chat. It doesn't mean you would make the judgment, but just be totally real. 14 months. This kid's been absent 35 times. She's been tardy 20 times. What judgments might people start to make if that's all we knew? Just keep it real, my friends. It doesn't mean you would make the judgment. Throw some things in the chat. What do you see? What does that mean for you? A lot of times we see things like kids lazy, parents don't care, they don't value education, disrespectful, maybe they're academically low, they don't want to be here, maybe there's bullying, maybe there's anxiety, maybe she's pregnant, maybe there's drugs. As we see, lack of parent support, home life is difficult, what in the world is wrong with her, is going to need so much support. My friends, you see that data on that screen? It's my daughter. That's the data for my kid. By the way, parents are a mess. Thanks, baby. I appreciate the shout out. Thanks for thinking of me, right? Can I tell you part of her story? Can I take a moment to share part of her story? Can I tell you what it was like being her daddy when she was 10 months old? We had no idea the severity of her food allergies. We had friends over for dinner. They happened to bring over hummus, which is made of tahini, which is made of ground sesame. And we had no idea in those moments. Now, we didn't feed it to her, but at 10 months old, they're pretty messy kids. They came over, we start eating, we have some things. Somehow my little 10-month-old girl, they're pretty messy kids, happened to get a little bit of hummus on her hand. Not sure how it happened. She happened to do this. Can I tell you what it was like when she was 10 months old, watching my baby girl come red, her lips start to turn blue, watch her head start to go back and watch her start gasping for air. Can I tell you what that moment was like? Can I tell you what it was like grabbing my baby girl? That was in a 2-minute period, pulling her out of her high chair, running to my car, throwing her in her car seat, driving 100 miles an hour to the local hospital, like begging God to save my daughter because she couldn't breathe. Can I tell you about that moment? Can I tell you what it was like running into the emergency room, holding my baby girl whose head was back as she was gasping for air, screaming for an EpiPen? Can I tell you about that moment? Can I tell you what it was like as the nurse ran out and stabbed her in the leg with an EpiPen and watching life almost seem to be restored? If you've never seen somebody come out of anaphylaxis, it truly is a miracle drug in that sense. And watching her start to be able to breathe again. Can I tell you about that moment? Can I tell you what it was like laying next to her crib that night? I was a principal at the time, laying next to her crib as she started. I just listened that night as she slept. We got home about 1 o'clock in the morning and just listening for literally every breath to make sure my baby girl was breathing. You see, the moment I start to tell you the story, what if I told you this? You see, the data that you saw on the screen, the 35 days that she had been gone, the 20 times she'd been tardy, what if I told you the story? You see, every one of those 35 days, she was 2 hours from our home undergoing food allergy therapy as the first child in the Northeast to undergo OIT therapy for Sesame, the first child. What if I told you in 19 of the tardies, sorry, one of them, we were just late. We signed the papers. Sorry. 19 of the 20 tardies, she had a 7 a.m. appointment 2 hours from our home. We'd come all the way back after school and we get back about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I am so blessed that her second grade teacher, Mrs. Thomas, her third grade teacher, thank you, Mr. Moyer, when she would walk back into that classroom, it wasn't, Paisley, here's the 5 things you missed again this morning. It was, Paisley, we're so glad you're here. My friends, I share all that because it's the hidden stories within. My little girl could come on screen right now, look at you, and it's something that you can look at her and you would have no idea. I call it the hidden stories within. You see, a key to building culture is having empathy for the hidden stories inside of other people. And I'm not just talking about our students. I'm talking about each other. I'm talking about every single one of us in this conference today and the hidden stories on our heart. And hidden doesn't always mean bad. Maybe this weekend is your anniversary and it's the first time you're going away with your spouse in 2 years and kid-free and you can't wait. Nobody else here knows, but you're excited about it. But to be totally real, maybe you're struggling today. Maybe you're coming to this conference feeling like, I don't know how much longer I can go on. Or maybe things at home for you are a total struggle. And here we are talking about loving on kids. And last night was one of those nights for your own teenage daughter. And what a challenge that is. And nobody else here knows. It was the hidden stories within. You see, as we talk about culture, we talk about mindset, we talk about the work that we do as educators, the hidden stories matter every time. You see, when I share the data, and data is important, we've used data in education for decades. It's important, it is. But using data without understanding the story, and we can actually make some really bad decisions for kids if we're not careful, because the story matters in the work every single time. Take a moment, if you would, to watch this. Just another day. You see, do we choose to see the hidden stories in those around us or just inside of ourselves? It's why in Personal and Authentic, I wrote how I really believe the difference between making a judgment, which, by the way, we all do naturally. Your brain is wired to make connections. Your brain is wired to make sense of the world. But the difference between making a judgment and having empathy, it's understanding the story. So what if I told you the rest of the story? What if I told you because of those 35 days absent, because of those 19 of those 20 days tardy, my little girl who had been hospitalized 3 times, we've almost lost her. Doctors estimated it was so severe. Her numbers and allergies are so high. We had about a 30-minute window for her where it could be all over. And I'm talking cross-contamination levels of sesame, breads, crackers, you know, those pretzels at a classroom party, about half of them. Yeah, about 30 minutes. My little girl now eats the equivalent of over 2,000 seeds of sesame every single day in her daily dose to keep her safe. And I share all that with her permission to share kind of the rest of the story, because it'd be so easy to look at that data and make those judgments, look at just what we can see from the outside and make those judgments. But my girl is one of the most empathetic people because of what she's gone through, one of the most courageous people I know because of what she's gone through. But if all we did is look from the outside in and not know the story, we might actually think the complete opposite. You see, if we're talking about creating cultures of innovation, my friends, having empathy for the hidden stories inside of other people is vital. We have to lead with an empathy lens. I'm not talking about you just let everybody get away with anything they want, free for all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we can be so quick to judge, and I'm talking about myself. I wonder how many times it was me. I was so quick to judge about that student, or I was a principal, so quick to judge about that teacher or that whoever it might be, without stepping back, and how times I would take things so personally without really knowing the heart of the person on the other end or what they were going through, and how quickly we can be to judge. And I'm not talking about you. I'm just reflecting and talking about myself. And I'm not just talking about our students. I'm talking having empathy for the teacher across the hall, having empathy for the principal who also sometimes feels like they're on an island trying to lead and solve problems and all these different pieces. And I'm talking about you and having grace for each other in these moments. The empathy lens, my friends, as we talk about this stuff, is so vital in our work. You see, if we're also going to create cultures of innovation, we also really have to move past the notion of that's just the way we've always done it. Now, here's the thing. COVID forced it in many ways, didn't it? COVID didn't care how we did graduation in 2019. In 2020, it forced us to do it differently, right? COVID didn't care how we did kindergarten orientation in 2019. In 2020, it forced us to do it differently. It didn't care how we had always done it. And I will be the first to say kudos to you all for finding such incredible ways to connect with families and people during that time. I know some of you across the country are still forced to do those kinds of things in different ways, and you found amazing ways. Doesn't mean it was perfect, doesn't mean it was great, but kudos to you for thinking outside of the box and saying, hey, I've never done it this way, but I'm going to give it a shot. And my friends, it's why, teachers, I stand in awe of the work that you lead each day. Let me share a story I share in Personal and Authentic around this mindset. I'm a big fan of Zig Ziglar. He's no longer living, but Zig would tell this story. I got to hear him share it one time. He would tell this story of when he was young. You see, he was a motivational, inspirational speaker. I really respect his work. I'll share something from him coming up in a little bit, but he would share this story about when he was first married. He was actually a young salesman, and at work one month, he won the sales competition a few months after he had gotten married. And part of it, the sales competition, they gave him a nice bonus check. We would all appreciate that, right? But where he was in the country, they gave him this prized country ham. And true story, he was even more excited about that because his new bride, their family had this ham recipe passed through the generations, and his new bride loved to cook. So when he got home that day, he was all excited, all fired up. He's like, honey, I won the sales competition at work. Check out, got a little bonus check, but baby, look at this. Look at this prize country ham. And she was so excited. Oh, Ziggy, new bride, so excited for her hubby. Oh, Ziggy, I'm so proud of you. We're going to cook it up tonight. We're going to celebrate tonight. Zig comes back a couple hours later. He can smell his winnings in the oven, as he described. He walks into the kitchen. He opens up the oven. He pops his head in. He's like, honey, why'd you cut off the edges of the ham? That's my favorite part. Now, listen, my friends, I'm not here to give you relationship advice, but not a good move. Honey, why did you cut off the edges of the ham? That's my favorite part. And she comes in and she's like, oh, Ziggy, that's how you do it. You cut off the edges of the ham and then you put it in the oven and we cook it up. And he's like, why do you do it that way? She's like, that's how you do it. Cut off the edges of the ham. We put it in the oven. That's the way you do it. And he's like, well, let's call your mom. Why does she do it that way? She's like, I don't know. We'll call mama. So they pick up the phone. They call mama. Mama, we're using our family recipe from Granny, passed down from the generations. Mama, we got one question for you. When we bake the ham, why do we cut off the edges of the ham before we put it in the oven? And she laughs on the other end. She's like, oh, honey, that's how you do it. You cut off the edges of the ham. You put it in the oven. And Zig yells from the back, why do we do it that way? She's like, I don't know. Ask Granny. It's Granny's recipe. They pick up the phone, they call Granny. Now, I've got a 94-year-old granny living in a home in New York. And listen, I love my granny partially because she don't care. Like, she will say whatever she thinks. You know what I'm talking about? Like, she don't got a whole lot of time left. She just tells you what she thinks. Maybe you got a crazy uncle like that. You know what I'm talking about? So they call Granny and they're like, Granny, listen, Zig won the sales competition at work. We're so excited. Granny, we are using your recipe passed down from the generations, prize country ham. Granny, we've got one question for you. Why in your recipe would you cut off the edges of the ham before you put it in the oven? It's the way we've always done it. Why would you cut off the edges of the ham, put it in the oven? And like only a 94-year-old granny could do, she laughs on the other end and says, I don't know why you two idiots are doing it. My pan was too small. But that's the way we've always done it, right? Let me prove it to you this way, my friends. Let me prove it to you this way. I want you to put in the chat, if you would, take a look at the screen. If you can put my slides back up, it'd be great. I want you to take a look at the screen. In the chat, I want you to answer, what direction are those circles moving? I'll give you a moment to answer. What direction are those circles moving? Go ahead and throw it in the chat. Direction of those circles moving. Now, as you're doing that, two most common responses, clockwise, 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 counterclockwise, clockwise, clockwise, clockwise. All right, if you said clockwise or counterclockwise, either one of those, give me a little wave. I know I can't see, give me a little wave. And it's okay. You're all wrong. It's okay. You're in a safe spot. Don't worry about it. They're all moving in a straight line. You don't believe me? Follow one ball. Just one. One ball. Some of you don't see it. Follow one ball, people. Just one. One ball. Ah, I can hear you. You're muted. And I can hear. Oh, now I see it. You see, here's my point. You see it now? One ball, straight line. You see, here's my point. You know why I share that? Because sometimes it's our own lens that gets in the way. Sometimes it's our mindset that gets in the way before we can redefine what's possible. And when I say that, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about myself. How many times was it me as that teacher early in the year? I started by teaching fourth grade when I was 21 years old. And I had these students early in the year, fourth graders are typically about 9. And I'm thinking to myself, like the night before, as I'm planning my lessons, well, they're only 9. They probably can't do much more than, how many times was it me that capped the lid on what my kids were capable of? How many times was it me when I was a secondary principal or an elementary principal, or when I was a district office, when I have a support staff member come to me that's in the trenches doing the work every day, come to me with an idea. Tom, do you recognize the parking scenario out there? And I'm like, well, it's not totally broken. Like I haven't had any helicopters landing yet. And I'm so in my weeds and something else and unable to step back and redefine my lens, try and see it through somebody else's eyes. How many times was it me that got in the way before I can redefine what's possible? You see, let me give you another piece, and let me touch on the technology side here a little bit, because there's so much great stuff happening at the conference today. If we're going to talk about creating cultures of innovation, we also have to be intentional with our technology infusion. I want to be really, really clear. Just because something is digital does not mean it's any good. We can be 100% digital, 100% online, 100% content, use 100% of technology, 100% of the time, and simultaneously 100% low level learning if we're not careful. See, when I talk about creating these cultures of innovation in personal and authentic, I talk about leveraging tools, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of tools here in just a little bit, curated by over 1,000 teachers that you can take a look at, but also talk about the importance of when we're using technology, leveraging it for creation and design, deeper levels. So let me ask you this. In your classrooms, kind of devices do you have? You see, I know what you're thinking. Well, we have Chromebooks. We got lots of Chromebooks here. We have iPads. We have this. They're all great devices. All great devices. PCs, Chrome. They're all great devices. I'm not talking about that. You see, something like a Chromebook, something like an iPad, something like a PC, it can be a digital worksheet storage hub. And if it's how we use it, it's really just a waste of money. We really haven't changed anything at all. It can also be a pathway to unleash student genius. And I don't say that lightly. You know why? Because I see it happening every day in classrooms like yours with the world's information at a kid's fingertips every day. What becomes possible is amazing. So a couple of years ago, my team where I work at Future Ready Schools, we work with Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond, one of the top known educational researchers in the world, and her team at Stanford to really look at what is it that works with ed tech. Because we are buying more and more stuff. And let's face it, COVID forced us to buy a heck of a lot more stuff, right? We've got so much stuff out there, and it's important stuff. It is, but what is it that really works? So it really boiled down to three things, and we could spend hours on just this, and I'm going to do it in just a few moments. Number one, it's this notion of interactive learning, being how much interaction is the child doing? I'll come back to that one in just a moment. Number two, it's the use of technology to explore, to design, to create. You know what showed really isn't worth the money? And in my guess, I don't have evidence on this, but it's my guess, it's probably our most prevalent practice, if we're totally honest. It's the digital drill and kill. It doesn't show any impact on the learning. And the third piece, it's the right blend of teachers and technology. And it's not talking about blended learning and using that term. It's talking about what great educators like you have always known. What's right for one kid is going to be different than what's right for a different child. You see, this is one working out of Washington, D.C. I can often joke, like I can say this because I work out of there. This is like the one document you should really check out. It actually comes from the National Ed Tech Plan a couple of years ago. You see, we've been talking about the digital divide for well over 20 years, the has and the has-nots. And it's an important conversation. It's definitely, that gap has been closing over time, especially because of funding federally in the last number of years, especially because of investments like your great districts have made over the past number of years. But they took the digital divide and they flipped it in a different way, looking at the digital use divide. Because technology can be used in really two different ways, actively or passively. And if you look at the passive side, hear me out for a moment. Passive isn't inherently bad. We will do it, right? We consume, we read a web page, we look at something that's static. It's not inherently bad. We will do it. But we have to recognize on the whole, it's pretty low level. The flip side to that is when we talk about the active use, and there's a lot of great sessions today. I was looking through the sessions that talk more about that active use of technology, and that's where you see some of the STEM stuff or the coding stuff, leveraging some of the global connections, using design or that peer collaboration, that producing when kids are creating, and you guys are doing a lot of that in different ways. But I also want to be real. If you're a principal watching this, we can't walk into a classroom and be like, nope, just passive use, because we are going to do it. It's an okay thing to do when it's efficiency in those pieces. However, we have to recognize from an instructional end, if we spend more and more time on passive use because we're using the technology, we're also spending more and more time on lower level learning. So the question becomes, how do we continue to develop those practices to be more active in nature, but recognizing you can't be active 100% of the time. That's not a feasible bar. It's not going to work that way. So in Personal and Authentic, I share this graphic of notion of just overconsumption. My little boy, Caden, who I introduced you to, he would stare at his iPad all day long if we let him. Could he learn some things? Sure. He watches some of those videos. He can learn some things, but at the end of the day, it's going to be pretty low level, mainly recall-based stuff versus the exploration, the design, the creation, and those sides of things there as well. You see, in the classroom, we can be amazingly innovative with little to no technology. We can also be extremely traditional with all the tech tools at our fingertips if we're not focused on the right piece. And here's the thing, as we talk about one-to-one, and so many of our districts have gone one-to-one, especially because of remote learning and COVID, when we talk to one-to-one, I plead with you, make sure we're focused on the right one in the one-to-one. It's not the device, it's the kid. And we lose focus on that sometimes. It's so easy to do. I want to give you a resource here very quickly. Now, I have to say, I've embedded every single one of these. I know tech department, you're going to maybe start to cringe, but here's the thing. We've got over 1,000 digital tools that have been curated by over 300 digital tools, curated by over 1,000 teachers and principals. I encourage you to check it out. Remember, bit.lys are case sensitive, bit.ly/tools for engagement. The T, the F, and the E have to be capitalized. You are welcome to take a look. You're welcome to make a copy. You can take my name off of it. I don't need any credit for it. I'm simply giving it to support you. Please don't walk away thinking you're supposed to be proficient in all those. That is not the purpose. The purpose is it's a resource bank of tools curated by teachers that I encourage you to check out. me tell you a different story. I live north of Philadelphia. I'm not sure if anybody here has ever been to Sesame Place. Now, Sesame Place is just like it sounds. I know y'all got Disney World nearby if you're down in Florida, but Sesame Place is Sesame Street, and it's like a little amusement park. Now, what you're looking at there is the Vapor Trail. The Vapor Trail is the big kid ride in the little kid park. Caden, my little guy who you met, Caden, when he's 3 years old, all day, little man is pointing at the Vapor Trail, pointing at the Vapor Trail. He and I went down, little dude's day out, Caden and daddy, all day long, pointing at the Vapor Trail, pointing at the Vapor Trail all day long. I'm like, Caden, no, you don't want to go on that. You don't want to go on that. You've never been on a roller coaster, buddy. You don't want to go on the Vapor Trail. I know you're tall enough. You don't want to do it all day long. He's asking, he's pointing all day long. I'm like, Caden, you don't want to be doing this, buddy. I don't know about you. I told you I was going to keep it real. When my 3-year-old asks me for the 165th time, I lose my cookies. I'm like, fine. You want to go on the Vapor Trail? I grab his little hand. He's like, I wore daddy down. He grabs his little hand. We start rolling over the Vapor Trail. He is smiling from ear to ear. We get in line. He's looking around. He's like, this is going to be the greatest day of my life, right? True story. We roll in. We sit down. We are looking at the Vapor Trail. He's looking around. He's smiling, so excited. He got his right. He got it. We're going to roll here. Dad, I'm looking at him like, son, welcome to the world of natural consequences. You don't want to listen to your daddy? That's cool. I'm going to give your little butt a voice. That's what you want? Let's see how this goes. True story, true picture. We get rolling. Here we are. Vapor Trail. I'm like, woo, Vapor Trail. Like, I love roller coasters. I'm good. We got this. 3-year-old at that moment in time. Yeah, that's him. That's him right there. I can't hear y'all, but I just heard out of Florida some awes. Don't awe him. He asked 165 times to go. I'm just helping the dude out. You know why I share that, my friends? You see, here's the thing. We were scientifically undergoing the exact same conditions at that moment in time. We were in the same place at the same time. Like scientifically, every condition was together. Like every condition was identical, except for one thing. What was it? Our experience. You see, I've been on roller coasters many times. I knew there was going to be ups, downs, twists, turns. I knew my belly would drop. I knew we'd have some fun, but I knew we were going to be all right. That little man, he thought we were going to die like the entire time we were on the thing. True story. Like he thought it was all over, right? You know why? Because he didn't have any experience. You know why I share that? I share that because I want you to reflect for a moment on all you've been through throughout the pandemic. Lots of successes we need to celebrate. And I know it's so easy to lose sight of those in the midst of the stress and the chaos that you're dealing with, which is so real right now. But here's the thing. I want you to process for a moment. When we take a look at that, and the reason I share that, experience matters. Right now, you all have been teaching, unless you just started this year, you have been teaching throughout a pandemic for well over 1.5 years. You've got so many more skills, the skills that you have in terms of things and doing things online. I don't care if it's Google Meet or Zoom and the things and some of the tools that you're using. Celebrate the growth that you've had because of the experience that you've had. And I don't look at it to say like, wow, look at it like this has been the greatest experience of your life. I don't mean it like that. But celebrate how far you've come and also celebrate the amazing progress that our kids have had when facing such adversity in all of this. But let's be real. Fear is so real in our world, isn't it? I made the mistake yesterday of pulling up a news app and all I see is fear, 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 fear. Like, don't do it. It's going to stress you out. It's so real. But here's the thing. Fear can mean, going in the words of Zig Ziglar here, fear can mean we forget everything and we run. And we're like, nope, not here. Not at this high school, not in Florida, not in this district, not over here in New Mexico, not in the Philippines. I know folks are there from there today too. Fear can mean we forget everything and we run. And here's the thing. In the midst of a global pandemic, I can understand it. I really can. I'm human too. I get it. But my friends, you have redefined fear. Because in the last 1.5 years, as you've led through that pandemic, and we talk about creating these cultures of innovation, you have raised the bar here. You have changed it in the sense of you've redefined it because you've made fear stand for we're going to face everything and rise. And in the midst of a crazy pandemic with all the fear and the anxiety and all those pieces that are so real, you continue to put your hand up and say, I will be stability for our students. I will be the calm in the midst of their world. And I recognize on you how challenging and hard that is. And it's why I stand in awe of the work you do each and every day. And I don't say that lightly. because these moments of uncertainty do really create opportunities for your leadership legacy. When I talk about leadership, I'm talking about leading in classrooms, leading in buildings, whatever that might be, because you're leading kids. And let's face it, you see, I really believe every one of us will leave these legacies. Teachers leave some of the greatest legacies ever. You are one of the only professions, we are one of the only professions in the world where people will remember your name decades down the road. And I know so many times when we have those days where we walk out with our head down, we walk out, we're exhausted, we're on the couch sleeping at 6 p.m. because we can't move. Those moments, it's so easy to lose sight of the impact that you have each and every day. But I really believe our legacies aren't just built in the moments where we're flying high and things are good and we're rolling. I think our legacies also built in the moments where we don't know what to do. I work with superintendents all across the country. Not one superintendent was handed the pandemic manual on how to open a school year in the middle of a global pandemic, nor had all this coursework on it. And I could say the same thing about principals and buildings. And I could say the same thing about teachers and your great work in the classrooms, because these moments matter. And not that we do things to build the legacy. I'm going to remind you of your impact that you have each and every day. Take a moment, if you would, there about a year and a half later, the next image, his hands are high on a roller coaster. There he is. I showed that in California earlier this week. A lady in the back yells out, "That's because he's with your wife." I wasn't arguing that one, that's for sure. But let me make 2 points for you. Number one, he had his people around him. That is my wife to his side. That's Paisley behind him. I'm cut out of the picture, whatever. Typical. But he had his people around him, just like, you know what? You do. My friends, one thing I know is we create these cultures of innovation. We can't do it alone. Teaching can be the loneliest profession in the world if our mindset is, I'm just going to close the door and isolate myself. Principals, superintendents, even more so, the higher up we go, the more lonely it becomes if we close our doors and isolate ourselves in this work. And we think about it, number one, he had his people around him. I know that I would not have gotten through the pandemic and the work that I do without amazing educators and people, superintendents, my friends, principals I work closely with, encouraging me and helping me along the way. And I'm guessing maybe if you're honest with yourself, you can agree and relate the same. We got to keep our people around. And it's great conferences like this that help us to focus on our people side of it. I encourage you to make those connections today. Reach out to somebody you're connected with in a session that isn't in your building that you don't know. Make those connections, because we really are in this work together. And together we're stronger for the kids that we serve. The second piece, he's got his hands up. Like, maybe we can do this. You see a little fear in his face. He's not like perfectly, but he's got his hands up. That's a huge step forward. He's got his people around him, but he also has some more experience with it. My friends, you've got a world more experience in this world when leading and teaching the way that we're doing it than you had when the pandemic started, right? Celebrate that and honor that, because you're doing amazing things, as crazy as it is. To create these cultures of innovation, my friends, you know what else we have to do? We really have to learn to fail forward. You know what I know about you? I know how much you care. I know the expectations you have for yourself and the high expectations you have for other people. It's part of who you are. It's ingrained in your world as a teacher or a principal. You care and you always want it to go well. You want every lesson to be just picture perfect. You want your building just thriving in different ways. But here's the reality. We work with people. Things happen, right? I want you to take a moment to watch this video. One of the best videos on failing forward I've ever seen. Teachers, I bet you can relate. Principals, superintendent, I guarantee y'all can relate too. Take a moment to watch this.
We'll bring you on into the temps, and we're all doing okay. Wow, 750 degrees in Gila Bend right now. And 1,270 in Ahwatukee. Now, I'm not authorized to evacuate Ahwatukee, but this temperature seems pretty high.
Cave Creek is really
yeah,
good.
Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, they don't look good either. And frankly, Wickenburg is a total loss. Oh my God. You might as well just get out of anywhere along this 60 years. A very warm. Surprise is starting to heat up as well at 1,300 degrees. So again, the safe spots seem to be Chandler and Mesa. Scottsdale is doing okay so far, but you're sort of surrounded by some pretty intense heat. So, again, I'm not your dad, but I would get out while you still can. I think steel boils at about this temperature. So Cave Creek, there's probably nothing left up there.
I mean, tell me that's not your world, right? You know how it is. I'll give you the teaching example. Teaching example looks like this, because I've been on the teaching side of this. I'll give you an example I bet you can relate to. It's about this time of year. Principal sends you the email. In the subject line, you see observation. Your heart stops for a sec. You open up the email and it's like, how's next Tuesday at 9:04 sound for the observation? So you write back, sounds great. Can't wait. Smiley face. And you hit send. The night before, there you are, Monday night, you're going through things, you're double checking things, you're looking through your lesson plan. Why? Because you care, because you want your principal to see the brilliance that happens in your classrooms in any given day, because it absolutely does. So here it comes, 9:06. Principal walks into your office, they give you the, hey, I'm here to observe you look. They walk to the back of the classroom, they sit down, they've got their little pen, they've got their pad of paper, they sit down and they do this. I've been a principal, I know this feeling. Sit in the back and they wait for you to start. So there you are. You're like, all right, it's go time. My principal's going to see some of the brilliance that happens in my classroom in any given day. It's time to roll. Here we go. All right, boys and girls, I need you to pull out the Chromebooks. Go ahead and get signed in today. Here it comes. We're going to be exploring, designing, creating. Let's roll. And bam, in that moment, the Wi-Fi goes down. You know what I'm talking about. In that moment, the Wi-Fi goes down. How do you handle that moment? How do you handle that moment? Because here's what I really, really believe. I believe that failure is an opportunity for a fresh start with just more of a profound impact and understanding than we had the last time. Because let's face it, we've all had moments exactly like that. Maybe it wasn't a Wi-Fi issue, but you know what I'm talking about. We've all had issues where, like, in that moment, you got all these kids, these little eyes looking up at you. What are you going to do? I want you to process that for a moment, because here you are. Here it is. It didn't go the way you would plan it to go. How do we handle that moment? You see, in the video that I just showed, right? That video, he could have run off the stage, found the person that did the graphics, jacked him up against the wall in the faculty room, and you made me look like, da-da-da-da. You know what he did? He rolled with it. And it's now one of the top weather clips in the world, because he just was like, hey, we're just going to have some fun with this because it is what it is, right? And I know things like that happen all the time in our classrooms, or the times throughout the pandemic that you can process that you were meeting kids online. Something happens. There's an internet outage, power outage. Something doesn't work. Joule doesn't work. Like, it happens. How do we handle those moments? Let me put it to you this way. It really is an opportunity to show our students when things don't go our way, this is how we pick up and we keep trying. And we pick up and we keep trying. And we pick up and keep trying. It's the definition of perseverance, isn't it? To me, it is. You see, if our students, as real as I can, if our students look at us as this perfect person that knows it all, that never makes mistakes, that knows the standards inside and out and backwards and never ever makes mistakes, like as lovingly as I can, they can't relate to you because they have no concept in our world what that feels like. Principals, superintendents, those of us at district office, same goes for you. If our teachers look at you as this perfect person that never makes mistakes, that always has all the answers, it's hard to relate to. You know why? Because that's not what they experience every day in the classroom with the chaos of having all sorts of kids, because kids are going to be kids and things are going to happen. In those moments, how do we fail forward? Because I really believe every time we fail, it's an opportunity to model how we get up and we keep trying for those that look to us for direction. And if you're watching this, you've got a lot of people that look to you for direction as teachers, as principals. It's why our work matters so much, as we get to influence the lives of so many people. But my friends, failing forward isn't just a mindset. It's also about how we persevere through adversity. And when we talk about creating cultures of innovation, and we talk about today the different technology tools and ways that we can infuse and shift learning and create great experiences and opportunities and access for kids, when things don't go our way, failing forward is truly key to this work. I want to give you well over 100 resources related to some of the videos I use and things like that. Yes, it goes along with Personal and Authentic. No, you do not need the book to access it. If you go to my website at thomascmurray.com/authentic.edu, I've got a lot of resources for you on things like equity, on things like culture, on things like technology use, relationships, and so many pieces related to be able to support the work. You do not need a copy of the book. It is all there, 100% free, because I point to a lot of curated resources to support you in the great work that you're doing. Check out thomascmurray.com/authentic.edu. That's all there free for you. I just want to be able to support you with that. Finally, as I start to close here in the last 5 or 6 minutes, we're going to talk about staying personal and authentic in the work and making learning personal and authentic, or creating these personal and authentic cultures of innovation. My friends, this work really is grounded in what I know you know, relationships. This work is about loving and caring about people. Everything else that we do is secondary to that. Do me a favor, if you would, pull your cell phone out one final time. I'll do it with you. I want you to open up your text messages. It was 42 minutes ago, I believe, that I asked you to send a text message to somebody that you loved and cared about. And my friends, here we are. If we were in person, I'd ask you to wave your phone if you happen to get a response. And I bet you it's probably about 70% of you, typically that's about what it is, that happen to get a response. Now, I know some of you looked at your phone and you're like, they're working. It's Friday. They'll get back to you. They're working. But a whole bunch of you, I bet it's about 70%, got that response already. And here's the thing. You took 30 seconds of your day to just pause, to build up somebody else's. So let me ask you this. Who's that student in your classroom that as you wrapped up that quarter one, you knew was just trying to keep their head above water, that could use an additional 30 seconds or a minute of encouragement on Monday? Who's that colleague that you know those hidden stories because they've shared them with you and you know that they're struggling, that could use that encouraging call this weekend, that could use that just side by side, close the door. I just want to let you know I got your back and I'm here for you. What that conversation and those moments might do, because those moments really do matter. My friends, as I start to close, I want to remind you of the impact that you have each and every day. It's so easy to lose sight of when we're so deep in the weeds with so much stress, so much fear, so much anxiety on the outside of our walls, isn't it? I want to remind you of your impact. I want to show one more video before I close, and it's my good friend Clint Pulver. I want you to take a moment to watch this as he shares his story, because my friends, as you're teaching every day, providing access to kids, and you see something in them, you'll hear this from Clint, that they don't see inside themselves, and you push them to greatness, and you teach them about boundaries, and you help them along the way, and you push them to see the greatness they have in each one of them. That's your impact. That lasts for generations. Take a moment to watch this.
I have a lot of memories from when I was a child. One that's always stuck out to me, though, was when I was about 10 years old, and I was in school, and I struggled. And I didn't struggle with English, math, or science. I struggled holding still. And I would try to listen and focus and process ideas, but I couldn't help myself. And to be honest, I would sit there, and then I would just start tapping. And the students in the class would look at me, and they'd say, "Hey, stop tapping." A lot of the time, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And then eventually even the teachers got after me and they would yell at me and they'd say, "Clint, you have to stop tapping." It got so bad that I got sent to the principal's office for tapping. And he said to me, "Okay, maybe when you go back to class, just try sitting on your hands." So I did. I went back to class, and when I felt myself starting to tap, I did this. I sat on my hands. And that worked for about 5 seconds. One time I was tapping in class, and my teacher, Mr. Jensen, he looked at me and he yelled. And he said, "Clint, stay after class." And I thought to myself, this is it. I am done. Now, I've always been the type of person that believes that a single moment in time can change a person's life. And this was one of those moments for me. And I will never forget it. So I was sitting there with Mr. Jensen and an empty classroom. And he walked past me and he sat next to his desk and he said, "Clint, come here. I want to talk to you." And as he looked me right in the eye, he said, "No, I need you to know something. You're not in trouble. But I do have just one question that I have to ask you." And he said, "Have you ever thought about playing the drums?" And in that moment, Mr. Jensen, he leaned back and he opened the top drawer of his desk. And he reached in and he pulled out my very first pair of drumsticks. And he held them in his hands and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Clint, you're not a problem. I think you're in trouble." From that moment on, I've never put those sticks down. I've toured, recorded, and played drums all over the world. My whole college education was paid for with drumsticks in my hand. Just because of a single moment in time when somebody believed in me, and he saw something in me that I didn't even see within myself. And from that moment, I learned that there's a difference between being the best in the world and being the best for the world.
Because of a single moment in time. My friends, how many times it's the things you don't find in a lesson plan that last for generations? It's the little things you do. It's the encouragement that you have, the boundaries that you help set, the way you push, the way you see something in them that they don't see inside themselves. My friends, when we become more concerned about what we teach, and listen, it's important stuff, it's vital stuff. But when we become more important about what we teach than who we teach, we've totally lost the purpose of why we do what we do each and every day. I plead with you, lead hard in that classroom, teach hard. But my friends, love them harder, especially in the middle of a global pandemic. It's your fingerprints of impact that really do last for generations to come. And it's why I stand in awe of what you do each and every day. And I don't say that lightly. My very first words in Personal and Authentic were the work is hard. And I released that just before the pandemic. If I could rewrite it now, I'd write the work is ridiculously hard. But you know what I know? I know the students walking back into your classrooms, their families, and your communities. I know that they're absolutely worth it. And I know how challenging it is, but I know that they are absolutely worth it. It's my family. That's my babies, my whole world. I know you don't know them. I share it because it's my whole world. And you know why I share that? Because every single child that walks back into your classroom on Monday is somebody else's entire world. Do we teach like that? Do we lead like that, my friends? Do we love them like that? Because your story in your incredible classroom and in your incredible district is not finished yet. Would love to stay connected with you all. My contact for social media is there. Thomas C. Murray on Twitter, Thomas C. Murray EDU on Instagram and on Facebook. Would love to stay connected with you all. John, I'm going to turn it back over to you and the team. My friends, have an incredible day. Thank you for what you do each and every day. Thanks for hanging out with me for the first 50 minutes. John, back over to you.
Wow. Thanks so much, Tom. I feel like you took us all on such a roller coaster ride, just like your son was on. Just starting with, are you the culture builder or the culture killer? Like, that's such a huge thought process with those 30 seconds and seeing the results of 30 seconds. And while not everyone gets a response, like just reading some of the things I saw in that chat over there, of the responses people got in that 40-minute time. And then, just the caring what you actually modeling, practicing what you preach, and also just not knowing where someone is in a given day. We really need to have more compassion for one another. So I thank you so much for your message. You've got a huge following now, I believe, in this chat box. So thank you so much for your message, and I'll let you say goodbye here at the end. So with that, thank you again for joining this opening session. We're not finished yet. We have a couple of things to cover. I hope you enjoyed that. Thomas's talk will stay in the platform for 30 days. So if you have a colleague or someone that needs to see that inspiration, I know, just thinking offhand, I know several people that needed to hear that message that may not be here. They can come to technologyconference.palmbeachschools.org, register within the next 30 days, and rewatch that opening session talk. After that, it will disappear, but you do have that 30 days to rewatch yourself. You'll just go back into the auditorium, which I'll share in just a moment. So with that, don't forget the next session is at 10. This session may head a little over, as I know you want some prizes as well. First and foremost, though, if you are looking for professional development points inside of Palm Beach County schools and charter schools, there is a course in ELM. Simply enroll in the Technology Conference course. It opened today, and complete the follow-up activity by December 30th, and also the district mandated survey. If you have any questions, in the information booth, we have some amazing people from our team that are manning the booth that can answer questions about points or anything else about the conference. As you may have seen, we're using an innovative platform called vFairs. If you joined us right through our YouTube channel, you're missing half of the event. The event actually starts at technologyconference.palmbeachschools.org. Register and then log in, and this is your lobby. And from the lobby, you can visit multiple places. What we're asking for you to do first, though, in that in the platform, is to please make sure you have an updated picture and edited your profile. We would love to see all of the information filled out, because Thomas was saying connect with someone today, and I love he said that, because That was my message. If you actually watched the welcome video in the platform, is to connect with someone you don't know today. And you can do that using that attendees tab at the top. When you click on that, it's going to show everyone here. And this is why we would love to see your beautiful faces as well. But then you can search by keyword. So if you want to find other math teachers, you just type in math, and you're going to find math teachers from all over the county and also the world. And you just hit that chat now button, and the little blue thing there on the left will pop open, and you can send a message directly to anyone on the platform. So please, I challenge you to at least connect with one person that you don't know that you in the platform today. You also have another way to earn prizes. And if you came here through the platform, you've already got 9,000 points for logging in and watching the opening session. So don't forget to check out that leaderboard. There's also an amazing video there that pops up. It'll give you a little chuckle. So, but at the end of the day, we're going to be choosing the top 34 winners at random at the end of the day. And all prizes will start to get in contact with you starting next week. There's also an information booth. If you have any tech support problems you can just click on the left. If you have conference information questions, you click on the right. We have 2 amazing exhibit halls where you can then go in and look at your exhibitors. You click into their virtual booth. They've got all kinds of links and things you can add to your swag bag. You can click chat in their booth and also and get to know them. And remember, these are the people that helped us pay for those scholarships and the cover design contest. So you can just go in and thank them for being here. And so with that, I'm going to move into what we all are looking forward to, which is door prizes. And so to give away the door prize, all you have to do is type in hashtag PBCTechConf in the YouTube chat over there just once. As long as you type it and spell it correctly at least once, then you're good to go. So go ahead and type hashtag PBCTechConf. I want to thank all these amazing vendors for donating prizes throughout the day today. We appreciate you. You do need to be present to win. We can only ship to the US. And if we do happen to select your name, you need to just email john.shoemaker@palmbeachschools.org. And trust me, we are going to verify each person won by rewatching the end of the videos. Again, all you need to do is type in PBC TechConf just once. And when you do that, it will automatically add you into the tool that is picking people. So I will show you that the numbers are going up. I can see more and more people are entering. And you only need to enter once. We're going to give away 2 prizes here in just a moment. Our first prize is going to be an amazing $100 Amazon gift card. Thank you to our friends from Aver. Yes, I know we all want that Amazon gift card. So I definitely type in PBC TechConf at least once into the chat, and I still see them coming in. I don't want to let anyone not get an entry. So I'm going to give it just another minute. You have to type in hashtag PBC TechConf. And if you miss the first drawing, as long as you type it in before I click it the second time, you'll be entered at least into the second drawing. So I'm going to give you another minute. I still see them coming in. We've got about 120, 172. While we're waiting, don't forget to give us that thumbs up. If you loved his speech or his session today, please thumbs up this video and subscribe to our channel. We love trying to bring some amazing people like Thomas to our district and to the world. And so one more second here as I see more people entering. I don't want to cut anyone off, but I know we only have 10 minutes until the next session. Don't forget, if you are here the first time, you do need to be going to technologyconference.palmbeachschools.org, and that's where you'll be able to see the entire schedule for the sessions that are going to start at 10 o'clock. You can also add things to your schedule. And again, the conference platform will be open for 30 days. So it'll run through about November 14th for you to be able to come back in, take a look at the videos. And most of our videos will continue to live on this YouTube channel right here to watch the replays. Some of them will go away, but for the most part, a lot of them will be there. All right, so we're up to 209. I give you at least 3 minutes to click in. If you missed it the first round, you'll be entered to the second round. So here we go. We're going to draw the winner's name. Come on. Good luck. This, again, is for that $100 gift card from Aver. And our winner is Ross Evans. Congratulations, Ross. So, Ross, again, I need you to email john.shoemaker@palmbeachschools.org. Don't leave yet. There's still another prize. So, but Ross, you're going to email john.shoemaker@palmbeachschools.org. Our second one, you do not have to type PBC TechConf again. Our second prize is a Microsoft Surface Pro from Connection Public Sector Solutions. So our second prize, thank you, Connection, for that amazing prize. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hit draw again. I see entries still going up. Don't forget that PBC TechConf. And I am going to click that draw again now. Here we go. Who will win that Surface Pro? And our winner is going to be Joanne Herrera. Congratulations, Joanne. Again, please email john.shoemaker@palmbeachschools.org. I will work to get your prize in the next few weeks. Congratulations on winning that Microsoft Surface. Great prize as well. So Ross and Joanne, go ahead and email me and I will send you the form that you need to fill out. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for being here in this opening session. I hope you had a great time. I'm going to bring Thomas back up just to say a few parting words of inspiration if you didn't get enough inspiration already. After we're done here, don't forget to go back to technologyconference.palmbeachschools.org and check out session A. So with that, go ahead, Thomas. You have the last word.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time this morning. We recognize how valuable your time is. Have an incredible day. Be vulnerable. Keep it real. Learn some things. Let your guard down a little bit, but also be proud of the incredible work you do each and every day. Look forward to seeing you at a breakout session later. Go check out some of the incredible sessions throughout the day. Such an honor to be with you all. Have a great day, my friends. Have an even better weekend, and make sure to rest up this weekend. You deserve it. Thanks, everybody.